Hi, so my name's Alicia, and as you've probably guessed from the title of this video, I have been diagnosed with vestibular migraines and 3PD. So I just wanted to make a video really documenting my journey and how I've got to where I am now, and the tests I've had, what I'm currently doing to try and control it, and the symptoms. So just to jump straight in April 2020 last year, I had my first ever episode of vertigo. So I don't ever get room spinning vertigo. I always just feel like I'm moving in my vertigo episodes. So I was stood in a room and I just felt like I was moving all over the place. And that came with lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue and nausea. And it obviously induced quite a bit of panic in me as well. And that original episode lasted about 2 weeks, and during the time I'd rang my GP and was diagnosed with labyrinthitis and told that it was nothing to worry about and it just happens occasionally and it will eventually go. It may come back, but it won't be as severe and they'll tailor off, and about a year after your original attack you don't really ever get any more. So I wasn't really too concerned at this point. And then about 2 months later, and the following month after that, I had 3 or 4 day attacks. And then in the October last year, I ended up having about 10-day episode, and that was quite severe, and that included ear pain and ear pressure in the right hand side as well. So I rang my GP back, and my GP had said that he still wasn't too concerned, but to keep an eye on it, and he prescribed me prochlorperazine, which I now know is an anti-nausea medication, and that unfortunately didn't do anything for me, but the episode did subside by itself. Then in the November I ended up having another episode, again with the right-sided ear pressure and ear pain, and my hearing was really muffled as well. It felt like my hearing had dropped out a little bit on my right hand side, and that was concerning me as well with my hearing. So I rang my GP back and he referred me to ENT and neurology and said that he wanted me to get an MRI scan to rule out anything sinister, like brain tumours. So that obviously caused quite a bit of anxiety and panic in me, but I tried to just push through and wait for the MRI and not think too much into it. So I ended up having about 8 weeks of symptom free, which was great. And then at the end of January this year, I had an episode that lasted 5 weeks, and that was really severe. That pretty much had me bed bound. When I did try and go for walks, I couldn't go very far. I had to go with someone. I had to stop a lot during the walk. I was having a lot of these really severe attacks where I felt like the ground would just fall beneath me, and I felt like my whole body had just fell. And I was having them quite often throughout the day, be on a walk or just being sat down. They were just happening randomly, and the ear pain was getting more severe, and the hearing loss was also happening quite often in the right side. It would come back, but it felt like it was coming and going every now and then, by probably I'd say up to like 60-70% at its worst. So these were all really starting to stress me out now, and I ended up trying to push through my referral to ENT to see them a bit quicker. And in the meantime, I spoke to someone in the private field, and they had suggested that it could be vestibular neuritis, Meniere's disease, or vestibular dysfunction, and I needed to get more tests done to figure out what was happening. So I ended up having my MRI, and the episodes eventually subsided. And for 8 weeks, I wasn't well, but I was well enough to function. So I was still having like dizziness, but it wasn't, I could push through it. It wasn't interfering too much in my personal life. And then I had another really bad episode of about 4 weeks after that, and that was again very severe, more severe than the previous one. and that started including left side ear pain and pressure as well, and a lot of dissociation, so derealization. I didn't feel like I was in my own body. I was completely taken away. I knew what was going on, but I didn't know what was going on. It's really difficult to explain, but I just didn't feel present at all. And I ended up seeing an ENT consultant who diagnosed me with Meniere's disease and put me on a medication called beta-histine and told me that it wouldn't work for 3 months. So I was stressed out at this point because I had all of these things happening. I was told that medication wasn't going to work for 3 months and there's nothing they can do in the meantime, and I just kind of needed to get on with it. So he ordered a test as well called an ECOG, which tests the pressure in the ear to see if, or what's going on in the ear really. And I was told that was diagnostic for Meniere's disease. So I had the ECOG and the MRI, and the MRI was clear and the ECOG was normal apart from one aperture, which was abnormal in the right hand side. So that was indicative of right-sided Meniere's disease, which was what I was diagnosed with. So the thing with Meniere's disease, after doing my research, that I found out was the vertigo attacks tend to last 20 minutes up until 24 hours, and they never really last any longer than that. And you have a lot of periods of no symptoms or reduced symptoms. And my symptoms were never really going, and the vertigo was lasting a lot longer than these classic Meniere attack vertigo episodes tend to last. So that was worrying me slightly. In the meantime, I got another ENT consultant to see me, and he agreed with Meniere's disease, but he added a couple more tests for me to get done. So a VNG, a vent test, hearing test, and wanted me to get an eye test. So out of all of them, everything came back completely normal, which is mostly the case with the vestibular disorders, which is really frustrating. There isn't a set test to diagnose vestibular disorders a lot of the time, and that's not something I realised until after I'd had them all. But this consultant also told me to keep a symptom diary, and so I kept a symptom diary for 3 months and went back to see the GP at the 3-month mark. At this point, the beta-histine wasn't working. My symptoms were every single day now. I was literally getting no break from them. I hadn't really had a break from them since January this year, but they were more severe. And what started to happen as well was headaches started to happen. So not necessarily really bad headaches, but headaches were happening, head pressure, and sometimes ringing in my ears. So I went back to this consultant, and with all the information, that all of my symptom diary and what I've been doing and what I've been taking, and we agreed on the diagnosis of vestibular migraines at this point, because the symptoms that I had just weren't fitting into Meniere's disease anymore. So I was diagnosed with vestibular migraine, and then I was told that I need to take a migraine medication and try and sort my diet out and my lifestyle. So I was at this point doing the Meniere's diet, where you don't have salt, or you reduce your salt, you low sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol, and that was wasn't really doing anything for me. And I was taking the beta-histine, so I stopped beta-histine and started looking up things to help with migraine. One thing that is really important to note is in vestibular migraines, you don't actually need to get head pain or headaches or classic migraine pain in order to be diagnosed with vestibular migraine. So the vestibular migraine works the same way as a classic migraine would work, but the migraine is the dizziness and the vertigo, and all of the symptoms that come along with that as well, which I was really shocked about when I got diagnosed with it, because I, like most people, associated migraine with this debilitating head pain that you get. So I only received that diagnosis a month ago now of vestibular migraines, and 3PD which is persistent postural perceptual dizziness, I do believe. That was added on by my vestibular therapist about 3 weeks ago now as well. So 3PD is a constant state of dizziness with or without the vestibular migraine episodes as well. So it's constant dizziness. It can include lightheadedness, brain fog, a lot of the symptoms that you can get with vestibular migraine as well. But the main distinguishing feature is 3PD lasts for more than 3 months before you can be diagnosed with it, and it is just like a constant background dizziness. So when I don't have my vertigo episodes, I do have constant background dizziness, which is like a lightheadedness, floaty kind of sensation. I currently am getting daily vertigo episodes. So small movements to me are my main thing. So small movements feel very big. So if I'm brushing my teeth, the only way I can describe it is I feel like I'm brushing my teeth on a trampoline on a ship in the middle of the ocean that's really stormy. It's just a really weird feeling. If I'm sitting down talking to someone, like I'm sitting now, I feel like I'm swaying and like bobbing up and down all over the place, which is a frustrating thing with this illness, is that I look perfectly fine, and I know to most people I look perfectly fine and healthy and look like nothing's wrong with me, but I'm dealing with this 24/7, literally from the minute I wake up to the minute I close my eyes. I constantly feel movement in my body, bigger than what the movement actually is, and I feel dissociated, derealised. I feel I have really bad anxiety at the minute. I have the constant dizziness from the 3PD in the background, and I've started recently to get quite bad head pain, headaches as well, especially in the back right hand side of my head or straight across the front of my head and eyes. And I get a lot of sinus pain as well when the episodes come really badly. So that's kind of where I'm at in my journey now with everything. So I've got my new diagnosis. I am having symptoms every day, and I would say probably at the worst that I've been. However, the things I've been able to put in place from being diagnosed with vestibular migraines and 3PD. So I have stopped taking the beta-histine, and I don't take prochlorperazine anymore. I started amitriptyline, but I only lasted 6 days on that medication, and I had really bad side effects. So all of my symptoms that are quite severe, so the vertigo, dizziness and the dissociation, which are the main ones, they were amplified tenfold to the point where I just couldn't function. And I came off that medication and I had 3 consecutive days of panic attacks, which I haven't had in years either. And that really freaked me out, because that medication I really thought was going to help me, and it wasn't the medication for me. And I know there's a lot of medications out there, but I just wanted, as everyone does, just wanted that one to work for me. So I'm not taking that anymore, and I've been put on sertraline, which is an antidepressant, and that is for 2 things. So my anxiety and mood. Obviously, I think everyone with vestibular disorders suffers with anxiety and depression. It's just so debilitating, and it literally takes your life from you very quickly, and you have no say over it. You look perfectly fine, but you have absolutely no say over if you can just go to the shop, basic things like going to the shop, going for a walk. It takes everything from you. So the antidepressant really has helped me with just the anxiety, calming that down. And the antidepressant's also great for the 3PD. So 3PD tends to be associated with anxiety and depression. So the first treatment they would give you medication wise will be an antidepressant. So I've been on that about 2 weeks now. I'm not saying I've seen a massive change, but it is going to take time, obviously, to start working. So that's currently what I'm taking. And I also have a supplement cocktail that I take every day. So I take 5,000 international units of vitamin D3. I take 200 milligrams of coenzyme Q10. I take 400 milligrams of vitamin B2 or riboflavin, and I take about 250 milligrams of magnesium at the minute, which I'm trying to up, but you have to up magnesium quite gently because it can have GI effects, basically. So that's currently what I'm taking along with my sertraline as well. I also try and meditate every day, and I try and go for a half an hour walk every day to try and get my vestibular system to recognize that this is normal. To walk is normal and there's nothing actually wrong. I try a lot of positive self-talk, and I also go to therapy every week with a counsellor who is literally amazing and has helped me so much through this. I also have a vestibular rehabilitation therapist and a physiotherapist. So the physiotherapist is very hands-on. I get acupuncture and massages, and the vestibular rehabilitation therapist gives me exercises to do. So different head movements to try and recenter myself and desensitize myself to the vertigo and dizziness feelings that I have. That's again only just started, so that's going to take a while to start working. One of my main symptoms, which I completely forgot to mention, is light sensitivity. So I'm very sensitive to lights. I'm also sensitive to sounds and busy environments as well. So they can trigger my symptoms quite easily if I'm overstimulated. So going shopping is a nightmare for me, and I haven't actually been into a shop for weeks now. I haven't been to like the city centre for a while, and I haven't exercised in weeks because there's too much going on for me to handle at this point in time. But the things that have helped me with that are blue light blocking glasses help a lot. Reducing screen time has helped, but that is difficult when you're pretty much stuck at home with nothing to do. Also, what's helped is sunglasses, so wearing sunglasses indoors if it's too much or too bright. I also have earplugs that don't completely block out noise, but I can still hear people, but I can't hear background noise. And the people who are speaking to me, it's quietened down, so it's not too much. I also have the Cephley device, which is a migraine device. It was designed for head pain, but it has been shown that it can help people with vertigo as well. So I try the preventative setting twice a day. I also would highly recommend anyone with vestibular migraines to get the book by Dr. Bay. I think I've got it here. So it's called Victory Over Vestibular Migraine, and it's literally been one of the best things that I've ever bought. So Dr. Bay is one of the leading doctors in America for vestibular issues, and so he's written a book about all of the things, so from literally diagnosis, symptoms to treatments, lifestyle, everything after that. So that's been really helpful for me to understand the condition that I've been diagnosed with and to know kind of what to do going forward. Another thing that I started about a month ago is the Heal Your Headache diet. So I know you have to give it a while to work. They say 4 months of the elimination phase before you can even think about adding foods back in. But although my vertigo is not great at the minute, I do have more downtime, I would say, where my vertigo is calmer since starting the diet. And that's probably a combination of maybe the diet, the supplements, the medication, and just generally trying to be in a better headspace as well. So I do feel like I'm having some calm periods, but I'm definitely not there yet. I'm probably still 80 or 90% bad, to be honest. But I have every faith that I will get there. It's just going to take time. So if you're watching this and you have been diagnosed with a vestibular disorder and you're searching desperately for things to do to help you, which I still do now. All I would recommend is do your research, join support groups, because honestly, the people that I've met through support groups have been amazing and they understand like no one else. Speak to family and friends as well and tell them you're struggling, because no one can see it, and it's really frustrating that you feel all these things and no one else can see exactly how you feel. It's not like you have something physically or like obviously wrong that can be fixed or needs fixing. No one can help with anything. You kind of have to push through yourself, and it's really frustrating. But you've got to be your own advocate in this sense. So talk to people, push GPs and doctors. I waited 18 months to be diagnosed with vestibular migraines, and that to me is not good enough. And I had to push for that as well. So push these people and say you need to see someone, because when you know something's not right, you know something's not right, and they have a duty of care to be able to provide you with this service. But unfortunately, you have to like be very vocal about it in order to get the care that you deserve. I would also say try and get in a better headspace. It's really difficult, like really, really difficult. I completely understand, because I have my down days, more down days than I have good days. But meditation, going on a walk, positive self-talk, so saying phrases to myself like the vertigo cannot harm me, it will pass, I am okay, and just focusing on breathing can really help me. I'm not saying it takes it away, and I'm not saying that it's like a wonder cure, because it's not. You still do have the vertigo. I still have the vertigo, I still have the dizziness, but I can just if I can calm my nervous system down a little bit, that really helps. But yeah, if you are watching this and struggling, just know that you are not alone, and if you want to talk, just reach out. If you've got any questions, then feel free to ask. And I hope this has been of some help to you guys. So just to reiterate, my symptoms are dizziness, vertigo, derealization or dissociation, anxiety, ear pain and ear pressure. Sometimes my hearing drops out a little bit, goes muffled, head pain and head pressure. I get neck pain as well sometimes, especially down the back. And I also now have tinnitus in my right hand side, which is there it came in about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's just not left. So I also have that as well. But yeah, I would just recommend advocate for yourself, push these things, and you will get there. I will probably do an update video in about a month or two to see where I'm at with my medication and supplements and with the diet, and to tell you if anything works. So like I've got a Cephally device, so to see if that worked or anything. But take care of yourself and speak soon.